Hello and welcome to Echoes of Elgin, timeless tales from the Elgin History Museum. I'm Rebecca Miller, museum educator at the Elgin History Museum, and your guide through Elgin's storied past. In each episode, we bring you captivating tales from Elgin's rich history, exploring the events, people, and places that have made our city what it is today. Whether you're a longtime resident, a history enthusiast, or just curious about local lore, this podcast is for you. Our echo today reaches us from January 12, 1997, when E.C. Mike Elft writes about Elgin's post-war housing boom that started with Sunset Park. 50 years ago this week, families began moving into Sunset Park, Elgin's first post-war subdivision. The first unit occupied was 1129 South Street on Elgin's west side. Sunset Park was a startling innovation for Elgin. Mass-produced with winding streets and curb-lined sidewalks, it excited widespread public interest. A contest was organized to give the development a name, and the governor of Illinois presided over the groundbreaking. The Elgin National Watch Company, seeking housing for employees returning from the war, had obtained an option on the 130-acre Brotzman Farm fronting along the south side of South Street. Continental Insurance Company of Chicago agreed to underwrite the project. At first, plans called for an eventual 600 homes, but the state's purchases for the US 20 bypass cut that goal by more than two-thirds. Governor Dwight H. Green had recommended state legislation permitting Illinois insurance companies to invest in real estate up to 10% of their assets. Sunset Park was the first major housing program to be started under provisions of the new law, and in June 1946, the governor came to Elgin for the dedication program. The permanent medium-cost homes that are to be constructed here, he declared, will be a real community asset, as well as a solution to the individual housing problems. Veterans were given preference to purchase homes in, quote-unquote, the park, because the scarce materials were allotted under a government priority system. The units were built according to specifications of the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Housing Administration, which ensured most of the mortgages granted. There were more than a dozen exterior designs, but the floor plans were similar. The homes had full basements, 4 rooms and a bath on the first floor, and a space for 2 more rooms in the uncompleted second floor. They featured gas-fired hot air heat, oak floors, metal kitchen cabinets, and insulated ceilings. The lots generally had a frontage of 50 feet and an average depth of 130 feet. More than 1,400 interested area residents lined up at the first open house, held at 1125 South Street. Originally planned to sell in the $8,000 to $8,500 range, prices rose so rapidly during the post-war inflationary spiral that the first buyers paid $8,700 to $9,500, depending on the lot size. By the end of 1947, homes were advertised as low as $9,800. The pioneering occupants were without streetlights and telephone service. They had to go to the general delivery window of the downtown post office until carrier service started in March 1948. That spring, Frank J. Grimes opened his Sunset Supermarket on South Street, and on June 1st, bus service was available. 3 tokens could be purchased for 20 cents. There were so many children in the development, 264 by August 1948, that the nearest grade school, Washington Elementary, soon became overcrowded, a situation that wasn't relieved until Harriet Gifford Elementary School opened in September of 1949. Sunset Park was completed by the end of summer 1948. Of the 191 homes, 72 were purchased by Elgin residents, and 119 by families from Chicago and elsewhere. The average age of the new homeowners was 34. More than 3/5 of the total family incomes were derived from employment sources outside of Elgin. Hundreds of families have lived in Sunset Park in the last half-century, and it's proven to be, in the words of Governor Green, a real community asset. Another 27 years have passed since our article was written, meaning Sunset Park has been home to West Side families for 77 years. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Elgin's history. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a review wherever you listen. For more fascinating stories and updates, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit our website at www.elginhistory.org. Thanks for listening, and remember, history lives on in the echoes of Elgin.